Hey everybody, welcome back to this Let's Play of Final Fantasy II for the PlayStation. I am back, I am Drak, and I don't know what I'm talking about. It's been a long week. So, welcome back everybody. To give kind of a recap, there really isn't much to give now, because we are officially really close to the end here, guys, because we just barely beat the Jade Passage, and now we are in the final dungeon, the Palace of Pandaemonium, where we are going to confront the Emperor of Palamecia, who now wants everybody dead, and wants to rule the world. Because, you know, it's like that when you're a Final Fantasy villain. Try and think about it that way. So, unfortunately, we've got yet another long slog here. This is going to be the Wind Tower all over again from Mystic Quest. And probably even the... I'm trying to remember, was the Temple of Chaos in the first game that long? I don't think so. I think we cruised through it pretty quickly, with very little problems. And this one's gonna be kind of one of those long slogs again, except with 100% less Pazuzu. So we'll make it work as we go. As people noticed, I'm still recording on the the ending of E3, and I covered a lot of the E3 news that I was interested in last week. I think if there's anything additional, I'll add it here, but I pretty much, I think, covered everything I was interested in after E3. The other question that I do get asked, like, do we have any upcoming events or any, like, big stuff happening for either my page or Drak and Shadow? Like we've said, we've got big summer events planned. If people haven't noticed, we started up a Let's Play of Castlevania II Simon's Quest, and I recommend that you look into it. It's basically... I tried to make it as salvageable as possible so that both Andrea and Alex could get the full impression of what that game was and the problems that it had. That's actually one of the questions I do get. Did I play the redacted version or did I play the original? I played the original. I appreciate the redacted version and what it is, but I wanted to kind of show people... kind of like the AVGN did. I wanted to show what this game was so that you got a full understanding of why it's not considered one of the best in the Castlevania series. So we started that up. We've got big plans each month of summer, a specific LP for each one of them, just to get things kind of moving along. So Simon's Quest, we're going to be taking on our first point-and-click adventure in July. I finally was able to convince Alex to let us do it. So we're gonna tackle one that's a little more familiar to him, since he hasn't really played point and click adventures. So we're gonna pick up a very familiar franchise to him. The other one is in August. We're gonna be taking on Mega Man 2. And we even announced this on Drak and Shadow. We're going to cover Mega Man 2. So that's gonna be kind of funny. We went from Castlevania 1 to Castlevania 2 and hit kind of the dinky moment of, hey, this is where you went? It seems a little weird. And then we're going to go to a point-and-click adventure so I can show what that's about. And I apologize if I sat there for too long. It's just that now the map gets a little complicated because now I can get a lot of final weapons and armor. So I want to get those. Things like the Masamune and the Genji armor, which are really going to be helpful. And if you guys are kind of noticing from here, just to make this a little bit shorter, if I am able to run from a battle, I am going to do so. So for those who are going to be screaming, "Coward!" I'm trying to save time, guys. That's all I'm doing. Just because this is getting pretty long as is. But yeah, and then we're going into August where Mega Man wasn't horrible. It was pretty solid, and then we go to even better. We went from like what I would call an average game to tremendously better with Mega Man 2. And so we'll see if Alex has that same impression when we go through it in August. But aside from that, not really. I already started up big plans with my wife Andrea, where we started up the Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse LP, and hopefully you guys are enjoying that. In fact, at this point, it should have finished, so now you get to look forward to next week, we're going to be starting up Tomb Raider, the 2013 reboot for PS3. Yes, the PCS3, because that makes sense, right? So that's going to be exciting for both me and Andrew to do it. People may be asking, why isn't Alex involved? It's just time. It's summertime, so things picked up for him a little bit. And he's been very busy with trying to get the B-Train month going on his channel. And I recommend that people go watch it. There are 3 videos up right now. I'm not sure of the third, but the first 2 are Dot Hack Sign and Noir. So go look those up. It's going to be really good. I've been let into the planning process here, and I know that B-Train is something that Alex is very passionate about, and you guys should look into. Because that's going to show what he can do as an anime reviewer from there on. I will admit, and I have had talks with other people, I wish he would go into more mainstream stuff, and I've brought it up with him, but it's his call. So maybe at some point we'll have to get him to review things like Bebop. But that's going to happen in its own due course. The other question that people might be asking is stuff that I'm playing currently. So quite a bit to answer there. For people who did not know, I actually finished up God of War Ascension and Batman Arkham City, and I have since moved on to new games. First of all, I'm going to go into Infamous. So, Infamous is kind of next after God of War, and I've been recommended that I needed to play Sucker Punch games, and so I decided to start with Infamous, the one that people recommend to me the most, because it's a superhero sandbox game, and holy crap, that should totally excite me. Right now, I'll admit, I'm not too far in the story. I just barely took out the first gang leader, I guess, where it was the Reapers, and now I'm actually in a new district called the Warren, and I guess I'm taking on the Dustmen, is what they're called. So, not too much to say there. I liked the boss fight with, what was her name? I think it was Sasha, where I was kind of expecting like a more Reaper tone, and it really was kind of the tar that you have to deal with that entire time. And so that was interesting to have that happen, especially since the tar creates hallucinations. I like that whole idea. But I'm not too impressed with the Dustmen from what I've seen. I do like Cole, though. I like where Cole's story is kind of going. I do like that he's finally had a story where his girlfriend's starting to forgive him of the stuff that wasn't his fault. And now he's strengthening his powers and trying to be, at least in my case, a good guy. People who don't know this, I don't usually go the bad guy route if the game gives me that. In Mass Effect, I went Paragon. In this game, I went good. It's just my deal. I like having a genuine hero character. Another question that I do get asked here and there, do you go back and play bad? Not always. Not always. There have been very few times where I've been motivated to do that, and yeah, Mass Effect was never one of them, and neither is Infamous. I'm just going to play it through it the one time and be a good guy. I do like the whole concept of getting new powers. Since then, I've been able to get some really snazzy powers, like the basically the speed grind over electrically powered lines. I want to call it like the induction slide or something like that. That's really cool. I'm also able to hover now. I love how they're implementing these new powers as mechanics in the game. And then when they give you the new power, they kind of put you through an obstacle course to help you understand it so that you can use it properly. I think that's a good idea for people who are new to games, as well as for people who are new to like sandbox or outlandish games. It's a great idea to give them a tutorial, and I know it gets repetitive, guys, for people who've done them over and over, but I have no problem with that, because it at least gets the power in my head and how it works. The other one I did like also was the precision power, where basically you can one-shot enemies, especially if they're in turrets, which is really helpful. Because that was one of my biggest problems with the Reapers, was they occasionally would have these turret sections, and I was trying to take people out, and I'm not saying I'm the worst of aims, but when you give me kind of a narrow margin like that, it's hard to get my hit. So this precision power fixes that for me. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, I really haven't gone too much into the story of it. I'm still doing stuff for the character Moya and looking for her partner John. I think it's her partner, an FBI guy, and that's also kind of associated with Zeke, who's your best pal, roughly, and he's cool. It's just he's very much a conspiracy theorist, and I'm so sick and tired of that stereotype, I could just cry. Because it's not funny, it's not anything, it's just kind of dinky. And just to address this really quick, so people might have noticed that now Gus is using the Holy Lance. Since we got Masamune, I actually gave that to Leon because it's going to be better in his hands. As you can see, he's doing a lot more damage with it. So if people are kind of wondering that, that's why. I know I didn't train Gus in lances, but that's kind of what this long trek is for. So I can at least get him to do some moderate damage with it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing my best here, okay? And using up my elixirs to refuel Therian's MP as well as Maria's. It's okay, guys. I've got plenty. We're good. So yeah, I'm enjoying Infamous thus far. It's just, it hasn't stood out yet. It's not, the story hasn't picked up in a way that I'm totally interested. I do like how, in kind of reference to a superhero comic, when it does its cutscenes, it goes into comics. I thought that was really kind of a cute idea to do. It helps get you into the story a little bit more. The only thing that I will admit gets on my case, and I've heard it's a trope of the game, is we get into the dark and brooding coal mode, and you get these karmic actions, and you get to decide whether or not to be a total dork or to be a good guy. And I love it how he has to go through that. He's like, if I, do this, then I'll fry a couple of people, but that might not be so bad, or can I do the good and honorable thing? And holy crap, multi-head dragon Tiamat! He was guarding the Edchi home, what can I say? Like how I switched there? It's like, I could talk more about Infamous, but oh, look at the pretty bunny. It's okay, this guy's not hard. Stuff that I could say about... I pretty much have covered kind of the stuff I liked about Infamous thus far. I think, from what I've read, I'm about halfway through the story. Is when you meet up with the Dustmen and start up in the Warren of Empire City. And so it's good thus far. But it's not, like, standout-ish. I think at this point, if it continues in this pace, I will probably pick up Infamous 2 just to see if the story heats up, so to speak, or if it just goes nowhere. If it goes nowhere, then I don't know if I'll pick up Second Son for the PS4, but we'll see. It might happen. Another game that I actually decided to pick up on a lot of people's requests is kind of in retrospect of seeing what Insomniac could do, and I actually did not play their games from the beginning when they came out on the PlayStation. I decided to go back and try out an Insomniac game. Now, people might be asking, are you trying Ratchet & Clank? No. I decided to go a little bit further backward and pick up their first iteration on the PlayStation, Spyro the Dragon, because a lot of people have been asking me to play that. I'm not too far in Spyro thus far. I just got out of the Artisan's territory, and I think I'm with the Peacekeepers. It's a cute little game. I have really no complaint with it. It's a cute little platformer. In fact, it's got a lot of charm for it, considering that it is an old PlayStation game. And I do believe that later games get a facelift. And I'm going to clarify this right here and now. I'm not going to play every Spyro game. Okay, there's a lot of Spyro games, and a lot of people have disputes with some of them. Right now, my only anchor is I'm going to play the first 3 PlayStation games. Because I've heard that's like the best the series ever got. So at that point, if I go through those games and I enjoy it, then I'll pick up the PS2 games and see if they're worthwhile. Because I think after that point, Insomniac wasn't in charge anymore. And that's where a lot of people had the problems with them. So, but I wish I could say more. It's a very solid platformer, but I haven't really gone too far into the story, so I know all the dragons have been imprisoned by Nasty Nork, and I'm gonna go free them. Not really a whole lot there. I mean, it's Mario 64 in a nutshell. It's a collect-a-thon. So, but I am enjoying it. It's fun. Now, the other game that I decided to pick up after Arkham City, I had some dispute about, and this one wasn't really recommended to me. I just wanted to pick it up. And that was DMC Devil May Cry. The 5th iteration, which is the Ninja Theory reboot of the series. And before then, people might have noticed, I also have been picking up the previous Devil May Cry games. I did so because I wanted to have it fresh in my mind, what I liked about Devil May Cry, and then go into Ninja Theory's interpretation of it. I'm not too far in the game, but I guess I kind of see why a lot of people had problems. It's not the same Dante. In fact, it's a more angsty Dante. That bugs me a little bit. It's not horrible, but it's bugging me a little bit, because one of the things I love about Dante is his witty charm. You know, the fact that he does play it off serious, but it's also kind of in a very cheesy way. If that makes sense to anybody. Excuse me. Alright guys, it's allergy season. But I like Dante thus far, of what I've seen of him. I'm trying to think of like things that stood out. He's very angsty, and that's kind of my main beef. But the game is very solid. It's got very solid gameplay. Like I've done a couple of segments in Limbo, and I think it holds up. I think it holds up as a Devil May Cry game in that regard. Story, I don't know yet. I'm not that deep. I just barely did Mission 2. So I know about kind of how they're setting up the story here. How Dante and Virgil were separated and their minds were wiped by Sparta. And how Sparta and his wife had a good life until the demons found them. I don't know why they had to reboot Sparta, but they did. And it's kind of weird, but roll with it. I don't know if I like the new Virgil, but we'll see. And I also want to know who the psychic girl is, if she's supposed to be like Trish or Lady. I hope not, because that's a really bad interpretation. So, right now, that's kind of my viewpoint on it. It's not that I hate the game. It's that it's got that angsty problem I have with a lot of games these days, where, you know, you have to have this angsty protagonist, and he has to be a brooding anti-hero. And I especially did not like the whole... This was actually a problem I saw a lot of people having with it, was the moment where he gets the white wig on him and looks in a mirror and just goes, "Not in a million years." And my response was simply, well, if it makes you money, then you'll do it. Or they're going to drop this kid and go back to the original white-haired Dante or his kid. Or maybe we'll get another game with Nero. I don't know. That's if Capcom can collectively pull their heads out of their ass, but that's me! Pardon my French, but you know. I love Capcom and all, but they've been making a lot of bad decisions lately. Especially at E3 with the Dead Rising Capcom Nostalgia Pack. I don't know what else to call it other than that. You can dress up Frank West in Hagar, Ryu, Chun-Li, or Mega Man clothes. Fine, whatever. I don't play Dead Rising. It's just like, oh, well, it's good that Capcom's reliving their glory days, because that's what they're going to be doing unless they pull their heads out of their butts. So overall, I don't have a problem with the gameplay. It's just the story with DMC. We'll see if it improves. This may be one of those games where I do tackle the DLC. We'll see. I'm trying to think Let's see. Final Fantasy 13-2. Not really a whole lot to say there either. You know, it's kind of more the same of the problems that I've had. The time travel plot is kind of weird. I just went into this whole... I don't know if I'm finished with episode 4 or not, but I got through a majority of it, where I'm having to go through the tower, the Augusta Tower in Academia, and learning a little bit more about Noel's relationship to Yule and Caius, as well as more about Noel. And it's good. It's good. You know, the gameplay's solid, so it's keeping me entertained. It's just the time travel plot really gets on my nerves. Especially in the whole Augusta Tower thing, where they tried to justify that an AI got infected from a future entity. I'm like, oh, fine, whatever. I'll muscle through that, I guess. And left it at that, but it's okay. We'll see what I think of 13-2 the further I get along. The gameplay, at least, is it's good enough that it keeps me entertained, while the story goes in weird directions. I will also say that the QuickTime events, it doesn't feel like they're really well employed. That's a nitpick, I know, but it's just... they could have done a lot better with it. Like, I'm used to games where as soon as I see the prompt, I hit it. And in 13-2, you have to wait a few seconds for it to actually say what it is. And then, but you're still getting your timer counting down. That's just, ugh. I still get perfects on it, but it's frustrating. And it's nitpicky, I know. The other thing that I do want to get into this week is Dragon Warrior 2. Yes, Dragon Warrior fans, I played. I'm actually, I think, really close to ending. So I went around, got all the stuff, the keys that allowed for me to get. I also got the water robe over in the town with Don Mohammed in it. I'm now in the town of Baron, and I just barely did a trip through the Cave to Roan and got the last seal. So I've now gotten the Rubus Charm, and I guess I'm making my way to Hargon at this point, because I think I'm near end game. You go through the Cave to Roan, and I'm guessing Roan is where Hargon is. So right now, still liking the game. It's still very fun, very compelling. The story's still a little kooky, but it's Dragon Warrior. I'm willing to forgive it, you know? It's a simplistic story, and really I think the thing to get into Dragon Warrior for is the basic mechanics. It really does teach people how to play an RPG. One holds your hand with one player, this one holds your hand with three. It teaches you, okay, this one is a solid attacker, like a melee attacker. This guy's a solid mage, and this guy's a solid healer, and hi, Mackenzie me. I try, guys. I try to turn off my PSN so when I do this stuff, but it turns itself on. And it's been good. But I think I'm getting really close to the end. And like I've said before, I'm gonna hit Dragon Warrior 3. I'm trying to think, is that when it went quest? No, I'm gonna hit Dragon Warrior 3. I don't know which version yet, but we'll see what I can get my hands on. So that'll be exciting. But overall, not really a whole lot to say. I mean, it's just, I know I'm near end game, so I like the plot thus far, but there hasn't been a whole lot. I did both like and hate one moment in Dragon Warrior that I did have a beef with. I did the whole thing in the town of Baron where you go to use the inn, and after using it, Art becomes cursed. And so I had to use my resurrect item, the really rare one, to bring him back. And then that just frustrated me in the fact that I had to go all the way back to get another one, and it just felt pointless to me. It was a cool story element, but I really just wish that I could have, they could have written it off story-wise and just said, well, we're just going to have you, just healer, or heal Art, and that way you can keep going. But, yeah, aside from that, like I said, I wish I could nitpick this stuff, but unfortunately, a lot of stuff that I played this week was meh. It was going through the story. if anything, the biggest nitpicks I have right now in games is Alex is making me play through Sonic 06, and I'm sick and tired of it. There's a reason I didn't go that far. But no, Alex must make me feel his pain. So, yeah, whatever. We'll get through it. And hopefully I'll have more stuff to say on these games next time, but, you know, like I said, Spyro and DMC, I just barely started them. Infamous, not a whole lot there, story-wise, to talk about. Same thing with 13-2 and Dragon Warrior 2. I'm deep in the story with 13-2, and Dragon Warrior 2, I'm almost done. But that actually is going to do it for this week. So next week, we're going to continue our slog through Pandaemonium, but thankfully, we're probably at the halfway point, so we're almost there. In the meantime, I am Drak, and this has been a Let's Play of Final Fantasy II for the PlayStation.